let's just get the ball rolling. Gentlemen, we've assembled everybody here for the first annual Wargamer Games. We wanted to call it the Wargamer Olympics, but the Olympics took issue with that, and they told us to take that down.
Really? Like,
Yeah.
for real?
For real. Yeah. It's apparently it's not a thing. It's not public domain. Yeah. We had to pay for that, which, we're just a hobby company. We don't have that kind of cashish.
Goddamn freaks.
Wargamer Games it is. As part of the Wargamer set release, this is the new biggest set in the Fnatic range. 102 paints. Made to work really well with the mega set, starter set, most wanted set with limited overlapping colors. A great way to grow your Fnatic collection for all the fans and customers at home. Inside of it comes Durker, the Sovereign Serpent. We challenge some of our favorite content creators outside of the factory team to paint it up as part of a competition. And we're going to present them to you to get your feedback as professionals, as professional content creators, artists, YouTubers. To vet what you think are the best ones, and then we're going to leave it in the hands of our gentle followers and fans out there to vote on our blog. So with that being said, Tyler, why don't you share your screen and present the first Serpent?
So Brock paints War is first.
It's an interesting take that I would never have even imagined, like painting different rows of scales and different colors. What do you guys think?
I think this is really good. Also, the technique is pretty good as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I would think a little brighter at the base of the flame if you want to get all like technical and picky about things, but this is gorgeous. I like the adventurous walk through colors.
Very saturated.
Oh, that's Phil.
We're letting Phil in. Hi, Phil.
Hey, Phil.
Hello. How's it going?
And you've got the best audio of all of us, and you're in
That's because I traveled with my microphone.
So Phil, just so you know where we're at, we're looking at Brock Paints War. He's a popular TikToker, an Instagrammer, big in the D&D world. Paints a lot of stuff though. He's a big time paint collector. But this is his dragon submission, so we're all just kind of giving our thoughts, Phil. We're going to run through the submissions and then kind of pick our own personal favorites at the end.
Sounds great.
I like the green fade on the wings.
Me too.
Yeah, that looks really nice.
Cool.
Those are really punchy colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
and really
great.
graphic style too, which is really cool.
I'm getting like an early 90s Tyranid vibe from this, which I really like.
Yeah.
I agree the contrast could have been punched more on the flames, because there is so much brightness in the rest of the mini that it's not really reading as a flame. But other than that, it's really gorgeous. The scales are really nice to look at. I really like the color scheme. It's very like high fantasy, rainbow dragon type thing. I really like it.
Next up is Clara's.
Clara is not so much a tabletop gamer, but she paints a lot of miniatures. She's a big-time 3D printer from Austria. And this is, I think, the first in many purple dragons. There were a lot of purple dragons.
Yes, surprisingly. Seems like a popular choice amongst painters.
The one thing that stuck out to me was using a metallic paint for the scales and the horns and the claws. I'm not sure anybody else did that. It wouldn't have been my first choice, but it's actually kind of a cool look. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like the golden nails. I would shade that with an opaque color and just control where some of the light is interacting with the metallic flake a little bit. And then I always highlight my metallics with a final bright silver. I would use Mithril.
That's a good pro tip from Sam. I'm not sure she's ever painted like a tabletop miniature before. So for a first one or an early one for her, I'm impressed.
I like the metallic on the horns and stuff though. I actually do that for my Tyranids too. They have all like metal teeth. It's
really?
That's all, in the original Alien, the xenomorph has like a silvery teeth. It's like all black and shiny, and when it bares its teeth, it's like a metallic. There's something like really creepy about that. You're like, oh damn, that's not just regular teeth. Those will rip through my spacesuit, no problem, or whatever. You know, so I like it. It's a good fantasy take.
All right, what do we got next, Tyler? Who do we got next?
Devs and Dice.
He definitely employed some magentas and purples to shade that orange and give it some nice depth and contrast. I think that was a really pro move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a fun move to use temperature to accent like depth and raised areas.
That one angle, that one there. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm getting it. Like reminds me of like old Dragonlance novels, like the cover art for that. There's something very like classic high fantasy about the color scheme and the way he's executed. It's like very illustrative sort of style. I think it's really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
pushed the highlights on the head. It's almost yellow.
It especially when you see it in the action scene, you get the sense that it is soft lit from the center, right? Like you definitely get the feeling that there's source lighting and it's drawn right to the top as if the dragon's coming out of the shadow, you know? It's really, really well done.
Also like that he didn't use the flame. It fits this kind of
Mhm.
paint job and also the setting he's using it for a lot
Right.
better.
I like the natural kind of look to the teeth and the claws, the kind of dirty, highlighted towards the tips, but heading towards dark as they come to where they're coming out of the body and all that kind of stuff. I think that's a nice detail.
What's our next one, Tyler?
Next up is Don.
Don Soratos, the glazing master. Yeah, he did kind of the multi-scheme too.
Oh man, look at that though.
That looks
freaking
rad.
love the wings. The first time I saw this, I didn't see the detail and the spots on the wings.
Yeah,
That's really clever.
got some nice texture up here on the I don't know what you would call that part of the wing, but that part of the wing.
He's being lit by his own flame, which is rad. That looks so cool.
Shouldn't we all aspire to be lit by our own flames, huh?
God, Sam.
Yes.
I love you, man.
Yes.
Yes.
Just had a Sam inspiration drop, ladies and gentlemen.
Just look at all that texture work on the.
Yeah, the texture on the scales. Jesus.
Wow. The only thing is I wish that it was proper, that the picture was exposed a little bit brighter, because everything looks really dark. But I think that helps to maybe accentuate, at least in the initial shot when we first saw it, it definitely accentuated the light effect hitting his chest and his face from the flames.
I will say this, and it's important to point out that most, if not all, of the people who submitted a miniature created a video on their YouTube channel or on their TikTok or Reels. So you could see them painting these miniatures in real time. Might be better exposed there for you, Adam. But I think that's important for everybody voting at home. Like, go watch these videos. That's what we want you to do. Support the people that are making this amazing art.
All right. Next up is Flashing Badger.
So I would say that he probably gets the vote for my favorite video because he dressed up like Macho Man Randy Savage to be his painting coach. And he stayed on bit, even though he has a very heavy, I think, Australian accent. If he's from New Zealand, please don't shoot me. But it was a fun watch.
Oh, put another shrimp on the Barney.
I remember when I watched the video, I was surprised by the choice of going with the red on the canopy of the wings, given that the fact the rest of the miniatures, this cold purple and cold turquoise. But I actually like it. I think it's a neat effect. It's not one I would have went with, but I enjoy seeing it done by somebody else.
I think the body and the scales and the claws and the face and all that stuff work really, really well. I think that the wings, specifically the fleshy parts between the spines of the wings, it feels like that was maybe done at the last second or at the end. Like it just kind of looks like there's big stripes sort of, but not like color stripes. You know what I mean? It's just like, well, and it wasn't maybe as blended as well as it could have been or something like that. Like the wings themselves, the flesh part kind of like the back looks better. I think it's the underside maybe it was the last bit and was maybe under the deadline or something like that.
This was his first painting competition as well. And I'd say that there's a lot of good takeaways from it. Great job and great feedback from y'all. Who do we got next, Tyler?
Hood Guard.
Yeah, Parker. So this is also his first painting competition. He only just started painting recently. If you're a fan of Warhammer lore, you got to subscribe to him because he's like a anthropologist. But considering, he said he was apprehensive about joining this because he was so new to painting, I'm really impressed. Look at the glowing eyes, look at the detail on the mouth. He used some of the Warpaint's air metallics to add kind of a metallic iridescence to the backside of the scales. He mixed royal purple and I believe Azure magic. Again, I'm really impressed by these quote unquote novice painters, these beginners who are just starting, and the level of quality they were able to achieve.
Yeah, that's the money shot right there.
It is.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The detail on the tongue.
I really like what he did with the eyes. I mean, they look rad, like just in and of themselves, but in addition, because they pop so strongly like that, it instantly draws your eye to the head of the model, which is the centerpiece that you really want to try to grab it there. And using that kind of contrast and like that just like intense glow effect that he's got going on there is awesome. It really draws the eye where you want it to, which is great.
Yeah.
I think the fleshiness of the face contrasts really well with the other worldliness of the rest of the model. Like the metallic sheen is very fantasy, and then you get the face and the tongue, and it's very organic and real.
Some really strong points on this model are the eyes. I really like the eyes. I really like that bit of ribbing on this why so serious bit right there. I will say, we're talking about minefields here. When you're painting a dragon, there is a purple dinosaur that was on TV when I was a kid, and that is a mine that was stepped on here. Maybe it was a deliberate choice, maybe it wasn't. It's like, if you're trying to do that, by all means do that, but stumbling into the baggage of an existing color scheme that exists, you do have to be mindful of that out there in the wild world.
I think Thomas and I, if we were to take this miniature and then try and glow it up a little bit, we'd take some Tyrian navy through the airbrush, spray it inside some of the shadowed areas, maybe in between the teal and the purple, and maybe come back with some thinned down grim black. Because what it is that he has that fleshiness that as Tyler was pointing out, the realism. Again, it's very similar to how I paint my Tyranids, where it's shiny, glossy black, like xenomorph, but then you've got these fleshy, bloody, tones in there. I think that would like almost shift it to being a horror dragon, right? I think that would have been a pro move there.
I like the kind of not mono, but look, is a bit monocolor, like in the purple areas. There's not a lot of variation, which sometimes it can look really nice. I mean, there's some variation there in the wings where you're heading into red, which makes sense as the flesh gets thinner as it's stretched over those kind of wing membranes. But I like that it's a little bit more, I hate to say realistic because it's a dragon and all that kind of stuff, but in some situations, lizards are all one color. And in other situations, they're all kind of crazy colors and stuff like that. So I think it's a nice, it's definitely a nice setup.
Here we have Dustin from Jagged Brush Studios, and I knew that he crunched to get this done relatively last minute.
I like the nuclear green flame. It's funny we're talking about all this like unification and separation and triangulation, and then you see something like this where someone's like, "No, I'm going to snap it in half." Like the flame looks completely unreal compared to the dragon. And a lot of the time when you're judging in a painting contest, it's like you're trying to pick apart or look at what the person has presented. So you're gonna like key in on different things. It might seem a little contradictory to be like, "We love purple," and then this looks like Barney. But yeah, I like how this model looks so different from its flame.
One thing I really like on this, I didn't notice at first until I zoom in, is the subtle green glow on the mouth and the hand around the flame.
Yeah.
I was gonna
that looks great.
I was gonna say it really, for how big is the last several of them I haven't had the flame, but every time now whenever I see the flame, I'm always like, that entire dragon should be lit up by that kind of light. You know what I mean? So just have like a tiny bit of green on the paw there, or the claw, and a little bit on the mouth. Like, I would love to see one of these if they're going to use that color, or the flame add-on, just like the entire front half of it, and even into the wings. Like that light should be lighting up the whole thing for that amount of fire, I would think. So it's interesting to see just a tiny bit and go, I mean, unless it's not fire. Again, if it's green, maybe it's some sort of weird acid.
Could be a chemical
or something. Yeah, exactly, for sure.
Next is Metter's Miniatures.
This one is pretty random. I'm blown away.
Wow. Wow.
So he also has a
Yeah.
whole video on this. You can see it in more detail there.
Isn't it funny? He's got that beautiful, strong OSL from underneath, but he didn't even use the flame. He's
Right.
just implying some, I don't know,
Yep.
magma
The
or
lava world.
glowing gold or something in the dragon's lair. But it's really, really good.
Yeah, the
I think
lighting's
that
real
would
nice.
strong
screw
effect.
with the whole feel of it if he incorporated the flame as well.
I agree.
I think that the lighting is so strong with this one. Without it, I absolutely love it.
This is just highlighting in reverse and choosing the right colors to produce that effect. Yeah, it's you see it once in a while, but like I like that this person has taken it another level. Usually
Mhm.
people are just like yellow, orange, black dry brush. I'm good.
Yeah.
But yeah, then like the additional highlighting on top of the black, because yeah, it's not just going to be roasted black corners at the peaks if you're acknowledging any kind of lighting.
Mhm.
It also has the spotlighting going on in the head, but yeah, this is it's nice to see this trick, done in a much more focused way.
This is the first one I think where it feels like he painted the whole miniature at one time, like it all fits together, and he had a good plan from start to finish. Like he knew where this was going. Otherwise, he
Mhm.
wouldn't have gotten this result.
That's a very good point, Thomas.
So we have 2 entries for Miniatures of Death. We have
Those are some of my favorite people in the world.
Yeah, they're
Do
great
Stefano
people. I think it's a
first.
little unfair that they're using both of their artists for this. They're trying to play the odds game. But this
is
one's really cool.
Stefano.
Oh wow.
This is very close to, I think, how I would try and paint the dragon. I like the blacked
Yeah.
out wings.
Yeah. Like moving the emphasis onto the body of the dragon like that with the color choices. That's cool.
And just the level of gore on the face is I think,
Yeah. I like whether
the red is really drawing attention to the face.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and the blue on the hands. Interesting.
Yeah, there's some subtle shifts going on. That's
Yeah.
cool when you see a play between like green and blue highlights, like the wings are coming up to a green, the body is in a blue. That gory muzzle again is cool.
Yeah.
So this is Filippo. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correct.
This one, this kind of
Also
answers your question, Uncle Adam, about the more of the source lighting from the flame, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely lighting up a lot more of his face and his chest, and not as much of his arms as it maybe ought to, perhaps, but because how close they
cool.
are. But yeah,
The wings have this, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but going from the green to the yellow to the almost like terracotta color, it feels like flagstone, which I really like. And I don't know if that was intentional by Filippo or not, but it's very cool.
Mohawk Minis.
Really soft blends there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really like the brown reddy shading to the green.
He's a master of airbrushing.
yeah, I've watched him before
can
on Twitch
definitely
a
tell.
bit, and he's very much airbrush guy. I like that it's got you've got the green scales, but then as you start to get into and you see it a little bit more around the top of the head and stuff like that, but it moves from that green into like the almost like pinkish reddish, because there's blood inside there and that kind of stuff. And I kind of like that. It's kind of like when you see people who like to paint their orcs, but like the knuckles on the fists start to head into like pink and stuff like that, where the skin starts to stretch and everything like that. And it's kind of got that vibe going on, specifically also around the spiky bits or the spines on top of the head there too.
Yeah, I think he did a good job with this one.
I also
Yeah,
just like that we got a classic green dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's reminiscent of like a forest dragon to me, which I definitely appreciate. Simple Dungeons.
More purple.
We're purple,
Not
I
a
told
bad-
you.
Not a bad thing.
Maybe it's a generational thing, Eric. Maybe we're all just drawn to Barney.
This doesn't have the green stomach. Barney's a purple.
Yeah.
It's not just a purple dinosaur. It's a purple dinosaur with a big green stomach.
Well, I watched on a
Like,
weird TV, had to bang it, and like sometimes the stomach looked, blue, sometimes it looked like this. So
All right. Well, there you go.
I like this purple.
I mean-
It's more magenta, right? It's got a much more punch to it.
Yeah, and I like
And they've got
the
that. They've
texture
got
on
the
the
texture on
scales.
the. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say that the
That's
texture
very
on
cool.
the stomach scales and stuff is really good. Really, really cool.
Yeah, I like the depth going on here. Might be a bit of the photo, but I like how like contrasted in values the tongue is and stuff. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, again, and he came with that, gory jowl, for lack of a better term, and I really like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
And
a
even
good choice
just
for this miniature.
using a brighter white on the teeth, just that contrast there draws the eye. So even without having like over the top like contrast work there, just by having the teeth be bright like that, just draws the eye to the teeth and therefore the face first. That's where you begin your exploration of it, which is kind of fun.
I think the red parts are really, really well done.
Yeah, the highlights on the red are really clever, I think.
Yeah,
I like
I
those.
agree.
Makes it
I
look very
agree.
wet.
It's really good.
Not moist.
No.
No. Adam, come on.
Definitely a good submission. Who do we got next, Tyler?
Sonic Sledgehammer.
Yeah, Troy Boy. He was really down on himself for this one because he in the video he made some decisions and he realized it wasn't the right call. So the video is really interesting because he's talking and discussing about, when you start a project and you do something that you don't like, how do you work around it? And he did this in 3 hours. I think it looks great. I love that it's yellow.
I think for spending
think
3
that's
hours
right.
on it, this looks amazing. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
you can definitely tell that just from what I know of watching Sonic Sledge's videos, I'm sure that there was some sort of kind of marine juice concoction that was kind of put over everything to get the dark bits in between all the crevices and stuff like that. And I kind of like how that stands out quite a bit. The wings are, the way that I paint the wings make a lot of sense because they're not like, it doesn't look like you went in and did a ton of highlighting and things like that, but it just, because of the way it was done with more just kind of speed paints and things like that, it just sort of works quicker. Like there's maybe definitely some highlighting on those wings over there a little bit on the top sides, but the undersides look like it was basically just put on some fluid and let it kind of go where it's going to go, and that makes it look a little bit more naturalistic. But at the top sides look, to me at least, to be more hand highlighted because again the light would be coming down from above. So
the gray of the claws on the teeth, I think, could have been a strong choice because it's feeling a little bit unfinished in the face area. There's not the tooth tone is too close to the flesh tone for me, that it's not really reading as a mouth so much. Like the inside of the mouth should be a different color. I think it gives it all a very dry, sort of dusty, washed out look a little bit.
I think Troy did an excellent job, especially for a 3-hour job, which I think speaks to many of our customers out there. They just want to get things done quick.
Sword and brushes. So this is the only shot he had. Posted it on the 16th saying, watch out for videos, and that's been it so far. So here we go. Swords and brushes.
Really well assembled.
It looks very similar to it looks very similar to the paint job I currently have with it. So
it's an ice dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wylock's armor.
Now Wylock, he went ahead and made a bit of scenery for his as well.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh yeah.
wow.
That's cool.
He modeled his
Wow.
off of a specific ice dragon. I can't remember. He has the whole video on it. He talks about it.
Yeah.
that rules.
One, yeah.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
It does.
I think theme award definitely goes to Wylock here.
Yep.
The icicles, the snow on the base. You've got the barbarian there swinging the hammer. Just
Wow.
really, really well thought out.
Yeah, that is beautiful. It's so immersive. I've really been enjoying the adding scenery and stuff into photos, and I'm working on painting my own little bits of scatter terrain to make photos of models that look like this. It's really cool. Good job, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I also like how
Wylock
the
is
eyes
an
there are like
all-time legend in scratch-built terrain and dioramas and D&D scenery, things like that. And he's obviously showing that here. I'd love to watch this video, figure out how he did the icicles. But one thing that I really like about the colors that he chose is the dragon has very, very icy tones and then some alive tones in the parts that you wouldn't see when it's curled up. So it'd be, you come into this icy cave, and what looks like a lump of ice, all of a sudden the eyes open up, the mouth opens up, the wings come up, and there's the life. I don't know. I'm just loving it. I love how he's tied in the gold with the gold on the diorama base. I think he made some really nice choices.
Thomas, what do you have to say about Wylock's Ice Dragon?
I think it's great. I really like that, even though it's all made in the same colors as the terrain, because it fits in, it still stands out and works as a centerpiece for it. I really like it. And as Eric said, the part about the wings, I really love that part. It makes it's kind of micro detailing, if you can call it that. That really makes the rest work.
All right, and our final submission, Tyler. Zambies.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, I was gonna say something about the purple, but then you see the magenta fire and the reflection, and you're kind of like, I like it.
It's a nightmare dream dragon.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the veins on the wings.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
I like this
Wow, that's cool.
monochromatic approach, and then just kind of maximizing with those colors, like sinking a lot of extra time in that you're saving by not switching. And yeah, it's got that control going on where the light and chest are more well lit, more like kind of spot lit compared to other areas.
I was going to say along the lines of what you were saying, Sam, with where you don't let the model necessarily tell you what you paint, that you put on top of it there with those veins, like in the wings. Like that's not modeled on there. She decided to kind of go with it, the way that she did there, and that's rad. It looks rad. It really adds like a whole other dimension, like you were saying.
Yeah, it's got that bat wing kind of effect to make them feel a little more transparent.
I think Zambies here has done a really, really nice job of controlling the value so that the eye pops, the flame pops.
Yeah.
Even though the flame is not the brightest flame, and this is definitely a very magical feeling flame that's achieved with the saturation and stuff, and it doesn't have that same luminance that like a bright yellow flame would have, but not every flame casts a bright light.
To speak about flame effects, we were complimenting other flames being brighter at the base. This is fine too, because it's in a magical tone and it appears the effect has already left the body and it's dissipating in tone. Like, what if that like brightest magenta bulb is about to land on you, the dragon's just about to close its mouth is like the sense I get,
I think that this has been a really fun project and experiment. We've brought, wargamers, we've brought, world-class, competition painters. We've brought, everyday hobbyists, 3D printers, lore specialists, all in to paint a dragon. And it's a dragon that comes in the Wargamer set. I think everybody that submitted their dragon did an absolutely stellar job. I think that everything has good takeaways. Everyone that we saw, some had maybe more takeaways than others. I'd be interested to kind of go around the table, starting with Thomas, and we'll move along. If you had to pick one as your favorite, now granted, we don't get to decide the winner, the people at home do, who would be your favorite?
Well, before this, I actually had Metas for my favorite one. But looking at the pictures and getting to see some details, I must pick Don's. I think the level of detail and work put into that, and the balance in all of his choices, I think that's my favorite one.
Uncle Adam, what do you think?
Probably because it's the closest to the way that I normally paint, I would probably say Sonic Sledgehammer, because I would be like, in most situations, I'm trying to get it on the table, and I think he used the materials that to get things done quickly and in a way that was specifically tabletop ready.
Eric, what about you?
Rob from Metters was really, really strong, and it's between that one and Zambies for me, because both of them to me represented treating the model as a whole scene, considering the whole geometry of everything as one, and then getting a really, really cool effect with that.
Sam, the Horse Lord.
I like Don's the most. I liked the general play and execution on it. I thought the OSL was really well done, and just a very tight execution on that. Liked the focus.
Awesome, Sam. Tyler, if you had to pick one, which one's your running favorite?
I think mine is a tie between Zambies and Wylocks because of the theme. I think Don's is the best technically painted one. But I just really like the theme that both Zambi and Wylock got with theirs, the ice and the like nightmare. It's really cool seeing that carried across the model, and also both of them were fairly limited palette, monochromatic. I'm a fan of that too, like what you can get away with just a couple of colors.
Phil, the geek.
I think if I had to choose one, I'd probably have to go with Zambi's, just because the way she made like a mood, made like a sense, like a feeling from the model, with like you said, like a limited color palette, but emphasizing like very particular areas, and then still just having this like general, like dark, brooding, like evil sense to it. Just to me, spoke really well to me.
I'm going to say, and I might go a little bit against the grain here, but one of my favorite things in all of tabletop gaming and miniature painting is when somebody takes that first miniature, or like one of their first completed ones, and they're like, look, I know it's, not great, but I did it, And I get that sense a little bit with Clara's, and definitely Parker's from Hoodguard channel. I think my vote's going to have to go to Parker, because he is relatively new to painting. He's not a big time, he's a lore guy, right? Like, he's not even a big time gamer. And I think that is cool that he participated in this. And I think he did some really great things that could have been just pushed a little bit further, but overall, he should be really proud. So he gets my vote for today, but we're not the ones that get to dictate this and decide. We've given our advice and our counsel, and the people at home, our fans and customers, will get to pick the winner of the first ever Wargamer Games in celebration of the launch of the Warpaints Fanatic Wargamer paint set, 102 paints. It's the biggest set in the range, comes with a free dragon, which we're voting on today. Thank you, everybody, to all 4 of the factory team members, to Thomas and Tyler for joining us. I appreciate this. I think we'll get together again to talk about, and maybe future, and we'll do another one of these. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
All right, thanks everybody for tuning in at home.